just because, we love you out there. Hey, YouTube. Welcome to Swampside Chats, episode 11 asterisk. It is July, I don't even know what day it is. July 29th?
It is July 29th.
Yes. July 29th, 2020. Busy week, busy month, busy year. We'll catch you up on everything. We are simulcasting, obviously, on Twitter and YouTube tonight. Excuse me. We just had a lovely dinner provided by Dave. Some sausage and brown gravy and rice, and it was just fabulous. And I had to eat quickly because I have to be here for you. So we put in the work for you. And the campaign staff didn't even get to eat. So you can tell me what a bad boss I am in the comments as well. So good evening. What shall we talk about? Let's see if we can go 15 minutes without talking about the President of the United States. That would be awesome.
I don't believe you can.
Yeah. Unfortunately, today, Louisiana retook the #1 per capita COVID hotspot in the entire world. We're #1. Everybody chant. We're #1.
We're number one.
So we are in it right now. We are the hotspot. This is obviously not good news, of great concern to all of us who live here in our district, Southwest Louisiana, running for the House of Representatives in Congressional District 3. For those who don't know you, my name is Rob Anderson. I know it says it on the YouTube feed, and it says it on the Twitter feed, and it even says it on my shirt, but just in case, I'm Rob. Nice to meet you. Nobody's coming in through questions yet, so that was the first hot topic of the day, was COVID.
Why don't you talk a little bit about qualifying and what's been going on since
Good point. I haven't talked to you all since we qualified. What that means here in Louisiana is we don't have party primaries like other states do, where all the Democrats run against each other and then win the primary, and then the Republicans do the same, and the Libertarians apparently swoop in at the last minute and make a political point for no reason. What we have here is open primaries, or also known as jungle primaries, where all the candidates run against each other. We register with the Secretary of State during a qualifying period, which was last week, July 24th, 5th, and 6th, I believe were the dates. Do I have those right? Or was 24th the last one? I forget. It was Wednesday to Friday.
26th.
It was correct. Okay, so Wednesday through Friday of last
22nd through the 24th.
Yeah.
Okay, Wednesday through Friday of last week. We qualified. We were the first ones, got good press in The Advocate and NOLA.com. Surprisingly strong challenger to incumbent Clay Higgins was used, so we put that in some TV ads. Surprisingly strong. As you know, we've been building the Rob Mob since last December, when we first officially announced a file with the FEC, but this is filing with the Secretary of State. So now the ballot is locked in. There are 4 challengers for the CD3 seat, only 2 of whom are going to matter to this conversation, who are the incumbent and me. And 2 also rants. No offense, but I'm not using my platform to promote anyone else. And that's just the way it is.
You do have a question. It's when is Twitter going to give you official candidate status?
That probably has to do with to answer the question, in case you couldn't hear it there, when is Twitter going to give me the little tag under my name where it's official House candidate? They get that information, from what I've read, from Ballotopedia, and that is presumably waiting on the post-qualifying period. There are 4 official candidates now, of which I'm one. So once Ballotopedia catches up and communicates with Twitter, then that sort of thing is automatic. It's not something we process.
Sending emails and stuff.
We are following up with them, letting them know that period has passed, and to go ahead and get that done. But yes, we are officially a candidate in everybody's eyes, and we should have that tag when Twitter gets around to it.
Maybe when they get us back about changing your username.
Yeah, they could also, someday reply about changing my username to @RobAnderson2020 instead of what it is, @RobAnderson2018. That's very hard to change to Twitter. So hopefully we win the election, so we get a whole new, Twitter account, be congressman for the 3rd district, and they can actually put the correct year on it. I can't make Twitter do anything. As we found out a couple weeks ago, if you all remember the blue check gate, when they were hacked on, I believe it was a Wednesday or a Thursday a couple weeks ago, a bunch of big blue check accounts suddenly were tweeting about Bitcoin buying Bitcoin. Send Bitcoin money here, and you double your money instantly. And of course, it was a scam, including the biggest accounts on there. But then what Twitter's reaction was to lock every blue check down who had changed their password within the last 30 days before that, which, as you might figure, was quite a few of us. Because once I saw that there was a hack, my first reaction was to log out and change my password. Normal security measures, but then they locked me out and I couldn't get back on for 2 days. So that was fun. Yeah, Twitter doesn't really listen to us any more than they do y'all. Sorry to burst the illusion. And as we saw yesterday, even Donald Trump Jr. got suspended for spreading fake news, and it was lovely to see. Question on the YouTube Live. What is your position to bring more construction jobs to Southwest Louisiana? Great question. Our big push is always that economic justice brings social justice and racial justice. And a level playing field is just that. So what we push for, obviously, is renewable and alternative energies. My biggest conversation so far within industry has been to the solar industry, an $8 billion market here in Southwest Louisiana, or excuse me, in the state of Louisiana, of which the Southwest of Louisiana would benefit. You mean more jobs, steady, good paying jobs, high tech jobs, and obviously increases the green energy access to Louisiana. We already have a plant that they built this past year, in the energy plant. Excuse me. So we know that solar is viable here. They just don't have a level playing field because the oil companies own everything. So high tech jobs and renewable jobs, and what we feel, and the studies show, is that it brings a better quality of life. Better paying jobs mean more middle class incomes. Obviously, the air is cleaner, water is cleaner. It attracts more of the tech companies and modern thinking executives who want to see the quality of life grow. And it's a big part of that is low income communities get investments. Communities that are often left behind if they don't happen to be near an oil well or an oil, a new oil well, an oil discovery, they're not going to benefit from new jobs. But solar is statewide, anywhere the sun shines, which for the most part, except in the deep bayou, is everywhere in the state. So pushing for jobs in our overlooked communities brings the quality of life up for the lower income.
Do you have hiccups?
Yeah, a little bit. Excuse me there. I was reading notes that Claire was writing, and I suddenly got the hiccup. So if it looked like I froze, it's an illusion. We're in control.
And Dewey will do that to you.
Yeah. And so new construction jobs, we'd love to see them in the renewable and energy fields. And that helps us with the second part of our platform, which is improving the infrastructure in those low-income communities, starting to address the food deserts and lack of mass transit, better, obviously people being able to shop in their neighborhoods makes those neighborhoods more viable. They don't have to go to a convenience store to buy junk food would be a good thing. Healthier communities and more mass transit obviously means more of the people in those low-income communities can then access these new high-tech, higher-paying middle-class jobs. Brings everybody up to the middle class. I would like to see you challenge Clay Higgins to a bench press contest. No, that's not something you're ever going to see. I could bench press whatever he can plus him. So that's not an issue. I may be 52 years old, but I still kept a lot of the muscle. It's just covered by a layer of fat now. What are you going to do? But yeah, I was in a physical field for about 20 years. And we moved heavy things from here to there. So, wait, that was said by Rob Anderson, not me though. User
Wait,
name
seriously?
on YouTube. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did you give him a shout out?
Hey, Rob Anderson. All right, I did. I just answered the question.
Right there.
As long as people know that's I'm Rob Anderson for Louisiana. That's another Rob Anderson.
That's the Twitter Rob.
I don't
The
think
Twitter
so.
Rob Anderson.
This
He
is
just
on
said
YouTube,
so.
bud.
Yes, he said yes, the Twitter Rob.
Oh, the other Rob Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, the professor. Well, welcome aboard, Professor. That is Professor Robert Anderson from California, who we discovered each other, of course, because we share the same name. And he's been a good guy. We don't share the same political views on everything, but yeah, shout out to Professor Rob there. And yeah, I do bench press more than Clay Higgins. I mean,
You don't know that.
I guarantee it.
Okay. Somebody said, well, okay, Beach Peach 4.
Beach Peach
So
4.
you mean there's more of you?
There's more.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. It is a common name. When I was born, I did check the stats back in the 70s when they used to be written down. But Robert was the fourth most common first name of my generation, and Anderson at the time was the sixth most common surname. So yeah, there are Robert Andersons all over the place. I think there's one who works in the NBA or is a player, and
No,
there's
he's a
another basketball player. There's another one who's a musician, or excuse me, a magician. There's a TikTok star. I think that's the magician. I am the Rob Anderson for Louisiana, who has a gray Van Dyke. I don't know what my distinction is. I'm the only one in Louisiana who has the loudmouth bullhorn platform.
Yeah,
Let's say
fair.
that. Did you have two comments? Neither are
Two
questions.
Okay.
Like the painting in the background.
Like the painting in the
That's
background,
Dave's.
that's Dave's. Yep, we're in Dave's
Watching
living
from
room.
Texas. Hope you beat the crap out of Higgins at the ballot box.
And the second comment, in case you couldn't hear, said, "Watching from Texas. Hope you beat
That
the
was the
crap."
first comment.
Oh, the first comment. Hope you beat the crap out of Clay Higgins in the election, as do I. Thank you very much.
The
How
second
many-
one was, I may need to move to Louisiana to work for you.
That would be awesome.
I don't suggest it.
I don't suggest it just yet, but I am humbly touched by your comment. I got a live one here on YouTube. How many constituents are in your district now? Excuse me, district. Obviously, this year the census is underway, and I'll take this opportunity to remind everybody to please fill out your census forms. You can do it online. You should have gotten a packet in the mail, and there will be people going around door to door. As of the latest statistics, we know there are about 800,000 people in my district.
Half of those are voters.
And about half of those are voters. And I think last time only about a quarter of those actually
Well,
voted.
half are registered to vote.
You're right, half a registered vote. And I think total we had close to 200,000 vote last time.
Mhm.
This is a presidential year, obviously, 2020. So I anticipate higher numbers.
You guys ran about 68% turnout last time.
68%.
And the last presidential election.
Oh, the last presidential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we get 68% turnout this time, about this time next year, I'm going to be up in DC trying to figure out how to find a parking spot. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
The mic doesn't really pick you up, so small conversation is okay. Okay. Any more current questions from
Let's
Twitter?
see, I'm looking.
What do you do with that smug look? Sorry, I'm just talking to
Look at you,
staff.
Smugly.
Looking at me smugly. I love my staff. I love them all.
You still have the hiccups?
Yeah, I just ate.
I know, but
Bad idea. Sausage
No
gravy right
sparkling
before
water.
Swampside is a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's why I was sipping the Coca-Cola. Normally, I don't drink processed sugar beverages, just letting you know, except when I want one.
somebody asked, can you get NABCEP, which is solar installation training, into LA? It was free when I took it.
We got a question on Twitter, I guess. Can we get the, what'd you call it? NABECP?
NABCEP.
CEP, which is solar industry training into Louisiana. Obviously, if I'm congressman and we're doing a big push for solar, yes, one of the parts of that would be we would absolutely have job training for people switching jobs or coming into new careers. Education is a big part of my platform. And I think if you want people to work in an industry and take advantage of a growing new industry, you train them. Now, that's where another part where our support of unions comes into play. Because as we boost unions, if, again, we get a big solar push in this district, the unions will step up, and I guarantee you they'll offer a training school and an apprenticeship program, and you get paid training. That's how unions have survived, is turning people who didn't go conventional routes necessarily for education into middle class incomes, which is why I'm for the for unions. I've always pro-union because I've actually been in them, and that's why I have children.
That's why you have children?
Yeah, because it costs $50 to have kids.
Able to have.
Wow. Must
Able to afford to have, the healthcare. My children combined cost $50. I'm looking at this. I don't know if it's a camera angle, but it looks like I have like a Spock eyebrow. It's just the way, or the Rock these days, I guess, is a more current reference.
So Rob, you had a comment.
Got another comment here.
And it was maybe suggest that you could introduce tax benefits for those who wish to invest in renewable solar energy. They did that in the 70s with great success. That's a great time to talk about ITEP.
Yes. In case you didn't hear that question, we should talk about tax incentives for consumers as well as industry about the taxation of solar industry to level the playing field and to give incentives. Here in Louisiana, we have what's called ITEP, which is the Industrial Tax Exemption Program, which used to be controlled by the governor's office and is now controlled by local jurisdictions. It
used to be controlled by the industry of consumer, the
well
Board of
before
Consumer and Commerce and Industry. Now the local entities
I know that.
control it, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the governor's office.
I thought it was right before.
It was the Board of Industry and Commerce.
Was that controlled by the governor?
They're a board, so no.
Okay. At any rate, ITEP is now controlled by local police juries and city councils across the district. Actual local representatives, that most of whom people don't even know their names, are the ones who sit on the boards.
They're not elected.
Hmm?
They're not elected.
Police juries are.
I was saying that it went from being controlled by an unelected board to an
Unelected, yes, to an elected board. Yes, I understand the transition. We were sorry. For those of you who didn't catch, ITEP is controlled now by small elected boards. Previously, it was controlled by a board that was not elected. At any rate, these small elected boards control in each jurisdiction. Company wants to build a new plant. Petrochemical, oil and gas, liquid natural gas, whatever it is. And they negotiate with each district as to tax rates. And of course, the industry representatives are these well-trained team of lawyers that go district to district arguing the case of why these corporate entities shouldn't pay taxes. And the local elected boards, while being well-meaning, all want to bring jobs to their districts, and often they give away the store. Exactly. One of the things that often happens, and then they get renewed, is they'll get assign a deal to bring a new plant in. They'll get a 10-year property tax exemption for bringing in new jobs. And then they'll want a 5-year renewal every time they change out the electrical system or something. If they do an upgrade, they're then allowed to apply for renewal. So this ITEP program has basically created this pattern where corporations just keep getting extensions and never paying property taxes, therefore never paying taxes to the actual district for school improvements and local improvements. All the money goes somewhere else, which is part of the problem here in Louisiana. Is
we were talking about the new software company that you posted about the other day.
Yeah.
They actually got a great ITEP deal for us. I mean,
Oh, they actually did.
It's 500 new jobs, paying really good wages.
I saw that part.
They're
74,000
permanent jobs, and it cost a tax liability of like $3 million. That's nothing. That's how the program should work.
And that's how the program should work.
Over 2 years.
What was brought up, you saw off camera, we just did a tweet announcement the other day because it is literally not even really made the media yet. It was a local activities board talking about corporations that posted this notice. It was new. I'm sorry, I've been ant bit. I'm just not having my best day. I'm trying here for you. This local, we have a software coming that did an ITEP negotiation that was actually favorable for Louisiana for once. We were talking about what we remember as the details, but 500 new jobs on average. I think they were paying 74,000 for these 500 jobs that I remember from the article, and a certain amount of permanent jobs. I forget, was it a full 500?
It was a full 500.
Yeah, the full 500 were permanent jobs. and it only cost us a $3 million tax liability, which is nothing when you're talking about that kind of long-term trade-off, and especially when you're talking about new high-tech industry we'd like to see Louisiana move towards, such as software and the higher end industry that we want to ultimately replace ones that have a big carbon footprint. High tech is good for Louisiana. Go ahead, Dave.
It's actually $3 million tax liability over 10 years.
$3 million over 10 years. So that's a pittance for what the benefit is to our district. So it was a great deal. John Bell's team, I'm pretty sure, negotiated that.
It was?
Yep. No other politician was mentioned in that article. Now, and it wasn't from a John Bell PAC. So yeah, this was the governor doing what he said he was going to do and trying to bring better high-paying jobs into this district. And my comment on that was, wouldn't it be nice for him to have an ally in Congress doing the same thing, trying to bring these good, new, high-paying 21st century jobs into Louisiana? We've got a couple on here on YouTube. So, hey, good evening from Stephen Armstrong. Says, hey, good evening. Past couple of days, I've been looking up candidates. I've been watching to see how they're doing this election cycle on the FEC website. The most recent stats, ... Is that a glitch? Yes, we have had a glitch with the FEC. We are addressing it right now. All is perfectly normal. We're filed up to date. You should be able to see the new data soon. It comes in as raw data first and then processed data. But yes, we're aware of that. It was a number of steps with third-party vendors. It's a nothing thing. Check it again tomorrow or the next day.
Is that the only one you had?
That was the only question I had so far.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. I figured so. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the FEC is, well, first we thought the delay might be because of the COVID stuff, and then we found out it was a glitch in our third-party vendor, which ends up being our fault. And so, yeah, we're well aware of that. We had to retransmit some stuff the other day, but everything should be fine. We should be current up to the primary report. Hey, y'all, I'm here. Ask me some questions. Ask me how Jane is doing. How is Jane doing? Jane's sleeping.
Rob, you had a clarification. It was
about
the person who asked about that tax issue was about they were asking about homeowners mainly receiving tax benefits and new construction. I mean, I don't really know specifically what policy that would refer to.
I don't either. Where was that question?
On Twitter.
On Twitter?
I doubt they heard that.
Here's a question. Asking for a friend, who is your favorite dog? I don't have a favorite dog. That's my question.
What?
When I'm here, it's Jane.
Good answer.
When I'm at home, it's Lolly or Papa. It was my sister asking. That's there is a question that came in that I'll get back to that one. Should minimum wage be left to the free market or should it be increased? I am of the mindset that the free market always needs regulation, and time has proven that. When unregulated free market turns into a slave economy, which is kind of where we're going now, with private prisons and actual legal slavery via the 13th Amendment, using prisoners as labor. So yes, you do need to regulate. A corporate entity is just that. It's a corporate entity. Its only purpose is to make money. It has no morality. It has no soul, which is why the regulations have to look out for the people to make sure that they're not being exploited purely for profit. So yes, I do believe minimum wage should be regulated. We haven't addressed it in 11 years, so it's not like they're constantly throwing freebies to the poorest folk. It's below poverty wage now if you work a minimum wage job. If you work 2 minimum wage jobs full time, you're still pretty much at poverty level. So I think it's obvious that industry left to its own devices is not going to increase its own costs, no matter what cost it is to the labor market.
Here in Louisiana, we have the highest sales tax burden in the world in the United States, which burdens low income people.
Right, and we have the highest sales tax here in Louisiana, which burdens the low income. Because you're paying taxes on what you actually pay, and when you don't make that much to begin with, somebody wealthy who only spends money, they're not paying as much of a share of the tax as would a minimum wage worker who probably every penny they make is going back out into the world. So higher wages mean more money in the economy for everybody. Going back to that earlier question, I didn't mean to duck it off. It's just mentally I wasn't there.
You're good. Somebody said a clarification. They were asking about homeowners mainly receiving tax benefits and new construction. I think that might be referring to
Solar?
No, homeowners and new construction, homeowners.
Get a big tax break?
Repeat the question.
I don't think so. That might be a mortgage tax exemption thing.
Right,
I
I'm not sure
think
to what it's
that's
referring.
probably it. I'm not either.
Oh, okay.
So I think that might be a state issue we'd have to look at.
Okay. So to answer that question that somebody asked on Twitter about the mortgage tax exemption, might be a state issue, and we're going to have to look at it because we actually don't have the answer for you. So we're not ignoring it. It's just none of us have it.
Wait, actually, let me see. I think I know this.
I don't have
It's over there. So we do address your questions. Sometimes we don't know. We will find out, and then I'll actually post the answer once they're finished looking it up. We'll post it on Twitter if we don't get it to you live. So I promise you that we're always going to look at these things and have.
You asked them to provide some clarification.
Yeah, and the other request from Clara comes in, if you could provide more clarification on your Twitter question, exactly what you're addressing, and then we'll get an answer for you.
And somebody asked.
Okay, new question.
Mike Dawson asked.
Mike
Should
Dawson.
I head down there from Nashville with my fishing kayak and 12-pack for a swamp tour?
When should you head down? Why don't you wait till November 4th? Because until then, 1, we're pretty busy. 2, we're
November 5th.
Very busy.
November 5th. Yeah, because November 4th will be hangover day probably.
November 3rd, actually. Yeah.
Well, November 3rd you win. 4th is hangover day. 5th good for fishing.
We're going fishing.
Yep, going fishing. November 5th. Yeah, we're looking to change the world, and a lot of people are excited about it. So yeah, we are going to have some sort of big shindig if we actually win. Rest assured.
We don't have any more questions. Would you like to talk about the COVID situation in Lafayette, maybe?
But what about specifically Lafayette? We talked about the per capita went up.
We're sitting in the hot spot right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're number 1. We're barely meeting capacity.
They raised valid points, not to overlook it, but where we are here in Broussard, which is not far of a suburb from Lafayette, just a couple miles down the road, is one of the hot spots of the world in COVID-19. And we saw it break back in March, and most of it was out in New Orleans, and then it started breaking out east, and then it fell off, and then we flattened the curve. And then there was a big counter push, including from our own Congressman Clay Higgins, against wearing masks, against social distance, all a hoax, dehumanization of the children of God to wear a mask. And now here we are again, spiking, and now leading the world. And this is right here. It's not theoretical. This is when we go outside, we all wear masks. And it's a real problem. Because everybody wants to reopen the bars and everybody wants to reopen the casinos, and they're not willing to do the work to knock it down so that the hospitals aren't at capacity like they are right now. So I hate to spell it out, but wear a mask, please. If you're in Louisiana, if you're anywhere in the world, well, especially the United States right now, please wear a mask when you go out in public. Stay away from other people. Do what you can do to not get this horrible disease. My own daughter's already had it. We have other staff members here who have family who have had it. We have political network people that we've connected with who have families who've died from it. It's real. It's here. Please stop ignoring it. If you take those few simple steps and actually take it seriously, we can get it down controllable and actually get rid of this pandemic. As long as people keep, you're encroaching on my freedoms to make me wear a mask. Okay, but you're encroaching on my freedoms by breathing COVID on me. That's an intrusion on my personal liberties, and I'll take it personal.
Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, as Dave just pointed out. So, yeah, if everybody would start taking it seriously, and I don't know how you can't at this point, especially here in Louisiana, it's real, and I don't know how else to put it to you. And I'm sorry, your congressman's a jerk. I'm trying to replace him. We're already working on it. We're all of us, full-time job. That's what we're trying to do, get rid of them. And every day, Claire and I were joking about this earlier, we don't have to do a whole lot of digging to find opposition research on Clay. We find the latest thing he said, and we repeat it, or the latest thing he did. Today, it was reported by a big reporter that on Capitol Hill, there he is on the floor, Representative Clay Higgins, our own, is out there on the floor not wearing a mask, and Speaker Pelosi is reacting by she's about to issue a mask mandate. So that'll be fun. Clay Higgins is going to act like he's personally put upon to wear a mask like everybody else, because as soon as he does, he has to admit he's been wrong for 6 months. We already know he's wrong, but he hasn't admitted he's wrong yet. So that'll be fun. Ignorance is not a constitutional right, Sam says, and that is not protected in the Constitution. That's true. You do not have life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the right to be dumb. It's not written down. It's inferred with your First Amendment rights. However, I think we have a responsibility to stop repeating lies as if they're the truth. And this entire era has screwed us all up. The era of fake news, the era of gaslighting, the era of somebody's opinion is worth the same as somebody else's facts. And that's simply not true. I think everybody is entitled to their informed opinion, certainly. But repeating rumor and gossip and fake news, I've had it up to here because it's made communication so difficult, because we can't even agree what's true anymore. And even now, there's people who say that Dr. Fauci spread the disease. He invented it with China and Bill Gates to put chips. And my smartphone is right over there. It's running Twitter right now. But I already have a microchip that has a GPS in it that follows me everywhere I go. So if Bill Gates wants to know where I am, one, he could watch Swanside Chats, which would be awesome. But two, most of us already have mobile smart devices. So the entire idea that they would actually try to put a chip in your bloodstream to track you is foolish, because a lot of people signed on to Facebook and gave away that right voluntarily. What?
We're willingly doing it.
You're right. We're willingly carrying around a chip. The era of privacy is behind us. And unless you get off the grid altogether, you're part of it. And it's not insidious. They're not trying to put demon semen in your brains or whatever the latest stupid trending thing was. All they're trying to do is sell you stuff. Look at Facebook. That's why they collect all that data, so they can market to you better. That's all it's about. It's about commercials. That's where all the money is. Mark Zuckerberg invented this MySpace, of the modern age, so that he could gather data and make money on it.
You don't have any more questions.
I don't have any more questions, and I'm actually running out of things to say. We're running for Congress. Obviously, we're running on a data-driven platform. We answer questions every week, and it seems like y'all already know the answer. Y'all are already going to vote for me, so that's awesome. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. Talk about the GROW Act. That's a good one. The Gulf Region Omnibus Works Act is our legislation, unique legislation that I'm writing currently, and always falling behind on, because I got to release something that we can put out as a press release. But the gist of it is, it's an infrastructure, education, and healthcare reform by stimulating the entire economy of the Gulf region, which is the energy region. Some of you may think of it as the red region, the southern states, but that's where all your energy in the United States, except for Alaska, comes from, and parts of California, to be fair. They do some drilling out there, but most of it's, down here in the Gulf. Alabama, Mississippi, Florida. Well, Florida was the one place that got an exemption from new drilling because Trump lives in Mar-a-Lago. Lo and behold, the rest of us, we can screw up our coast. It's all good. So another reason why we need more regulation. But the GROW Act is designed to boost those specific shortcomings that our districts have. Not necessarily jobs, but it will boost jobs with new jobs, high-tech jobs. And it boosts infrastructure, because a population that has access to public Wi-Fi, good high-speed internet, and good roads and clean water and clean air is healthier, and that helps your healthcare push. And the healthcare push helps the education push. All those things put together make a better region, a more productive, better quality of life. Let's go from being third world to at least second world. Let's get up in the 21st century here in Louisiana. And that's what the GROW Act basically does. And it delineates certain ways that you do investments in all these communities to bring all these things up together, not piecemeal by waiting for the right widget to be invented in a certain district is how other regions blow up. But then ultimately they're successful because they have good infrastructure, good healthcare, and good education. Any successful region in the world, you look at it, that has those three things. One of the best places of quality of life in the world right now is Norway. and you couldn't pay me to live there because I hate snow. But they have great education, they have great modern infrastructure, and they have universal health care. It almost seems funny that no country that's ever passed universal health care has overturned it. Like it works. Just saying, just throwing that out there. What's that?
As if.
As if, right? You know, if it was such a commie plot to take down the world, why haven't all these people voted this out? Universal health care works.
Social Security, same thing back in the 70s.
Social Security. Well, they keep trying to tackle Social Security too. Republicans don't want these programs to work because it means ultimately that all their policies are failed. And because nobody knows how to compromise anymore, it's all or nothing. It's all your Trump or die, you know, and most policy making is somewhere in the middle of compromise. But one party has already said that they're not compromising at all. It's their way of the highway. We're over here trying to justify that we want all human rights for all and apologizing for it. And I'm not sorry about it. I do think everybody in the country should have human rights. I do think everybody should have clean water. I do think everybody should have clean air. And I'm not going to apologize for wanting that and for giving progressive legislation that makes that happen without raising the tax burden on the working class who can least afford it and already pay a high sales tax. Carrier pigeon. What are y'all talking about over here? The Postmaster General is going to slow down our mail system. Thoughts? Yeah, Trump sucks when it comes to the post office. Save the post office. That's my thoughts on it right now. What's your question?
Post office?
Yeah, the post office.
No. Well, if you
We have a question.
If you read the question a little bit more carefully, it basically the Postmaster General has been ordered to slow it down. That's actually not true. The Postmaster General did that on his own, and he is also a major donor of Trump.
Oh, okay. That was the one who replaced who was, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry this stuff happened and it's too fast to keep up. We already know this administration is inept. And therefore, this particular issue, I'm not surprised on, but it's like gossip mongering when you're repeating Trump stuff right now. We oppose the dismantling of the post office, for sure. And I don't think huge corporate donors should be given cabinet positions or positions of responsibility like Betsy DeVos. Trying to make it harder to vote by mail. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Trump has made no secret that he's against voting by mail because he doesn't want you to be able to do what he does and his entire family does and his entire cabinet does and our military does. They're just opposing vote by mail because he knows he's going to get his ass handed to him on a stick. And he wants to go with the old, standbys of voter suppression and gerrymandering to keep people from voting so that he can stay in office. It's not rocket science.
I think you should probably give a 5-minute warning and cut this off.
Okay.
No more questions.
Yeah, if there's no more questions, we'll throw a 5-minute warning. What about like credit union full access?
It's too late.
It's too late. My train of thought has already ended. Some days are better than others. This is your 5-minute warning. If there are no more questions, we'll cut it off after 45. I'm here. What's that? I don't know. Dave wrote something random. I think, that was a good point. Well, we will bring that back because I got 5 minutes to fill anyway. That's my sister. She can hush.
Sorry.
No worries. What David brought up, that the post office can be utilized for many things that it isn't, such as one of the things it used to be, which was banking. We could bring back a postal credit union definitely for low-income people in some rural neighborhoods. You may not have a bank within 100 miles. You may not have a credit union within 50 miles. But for damn sure, you're going to have a post office nearby. And that is a way to bring services to those rural districts, those underutilized districts like this one. So that's a good point. It's not going to cost the taxpayers anything because it's going to make back its costs in interest income like any bank does. And it cost can be, instead of being for profit, it can be net neutral so that it'd be actually cheaper banking for the working class. And Susan says, have you given any thought as to what you intend to introduce the day after you are sworn into office? I think we will have National Cat Day will be the first one we push for, or National Puppy Day. No, the first thing we get into office is probably learn where the office is. Then I think you have to furnish it. And you probably have to buy, you don't have to buy, you have to hire. You have to hire a staff. There's a lot of things when you say the first day in office. but absolutely communicate with the leadership, get on the right committees. There's a lot of things a freshman congressman is expected to do other than, fundraise for the party, which, as we know, is the dirty secret behind the scenes. They slave you to a phone to fundraise, and I hate that part of politics. But so far, the DNC hasn't given us any money yet, so I don't owe them anything yet. Maybe I will be chained to a phone like everybody else, I'm sure. But obviously, the key is to get on good committees where I can make the most impact for my district, do the most good. Try to get the legislation passed, try to get that bill through that, at this point it'd be an emergency bill to address the I-10 bridge, matching federal highway funds, since the Louisiana state has already set aside for the budget, and Clay Higgins keeps putting his thumb somewhere it should not be and keep blaming the state for him not doing his part of getting the I-10 bridge replaced. Every politician that's come through here the last few years keeps talking about this because this bridge is now down to 6% capacity. It's a tragedy potential tragedy in the making. When we're talking about the Lake Charles Bridge, we're talking about the I-10 bridge over the Calcasieu River. You have fumigating, especially Captain Clay. Yeah. Hopefully we don't get Captain Clay's old office. Let's put it that way. Let's see, back to Trump hiring his lobbyists and donors. Isn't that pay to play or illegal? I'm sure the history books, when looking back at his administration, will find many things that ran contrary to established precedent, and probably contrary to established law. And it's a matter of, like, even in a local organization, finding a DA to press charges. Every time I read about Trump doing anything, it kind of runs against rules and regulations and laws, but it's a matter of who's going to arrest him. He's got William Barr running interference for him and his personal lawyer instead of the United States lawyer, which he's supposed to be. So isn't he not supposed to be doing this? Well, yeah, but that kind of applies to the entire administration. So it is very frustrating to a lot of us. I would like to see decency and the rule of law back into politics. Our own congressman, as we're digging up, we don't even know the extent of the gravy train through his. We're looking at his reports, and he stayed at the Trump Hotel, paid for by a PAC. There's a $2,000 limousine ride we're looking into now. So politicians abusing the money of office seems to be a current theme, and it's so true. And when you say, isn't that illegal? It's like, well, yeah, but who's going to charge them? They all seem to look out for each other. Down with the establishment. Burn it all down. Sorry. No. No. But it does feel that way sometimes. It feels like, damn, is everybody here corrupt? Can't we just obey the laws and the spirit of the law, not just the letter of the law? I don't get it. Not everybody has to be rich and famous. What is this greed? I don't get that either. But that's why we're doing what we do. We're just trying to get the people what they need, the people of this district. Anyway, that's it. We ran 5 minutes past. Thank you all for everything. Thank you for being here as usual. The campaign trail gets a little tiring and long, but we're still here. We got 97 days left, I think, till the election. So we're going to keep at it. Thank you, Stephen. He said, well done to everybody. I hope you all have a beautiful night. Thank you all. We're going to cut off Twitter. We're going to cut off YouTube. See you back in the world. See you next week.